All right, folks, today's Reddit story comes from r/relationships, where our main guy has a best bud named Mark. These two, thick as thieves since 16, shared the same career dreams. But recently, things went haywire. Career envy, a violent clash, and a questionable ex-girlfriend. Ready? Let's dive in. My best friend physically attacked me because of his feelings for my girlfriend. Posted by ThrowRA, a broken soul. I'm a 27-year-old male, and my friend Mark is a 26-year-old male. We've been best friends since we were 16. Our shared career ambitions have been a strong bonding point for us. After many years of struggle and rejection, my career has finally taken off in the past year. Unfortunately, Mark's career has not progressed in the same way. I've invested a lot of time in helping him over this past year, offering encouragement and advice. We lived together as roommates from ages 20 to 23 and shared everything. However, about 6 months ago, Mark's attitude towards me began to change. He started making me the butt of his jokes and said things that were belittling and demeaning. Being a generally happy-go-lucky kind of guy, I initially brushed off his comments. I thought he was just a bit jealous and having a hard time dealing with his situation. I understood that our chosen career path is tough, full of rejections, and it can be hard to see a friend achieve the success you've always dreamt of. Emily, my ex-girlfriend who is also 26, is another significant person in my life. I thought we had a perfect relationship for the 5.5 years we were together. Our communication was good and so was our life. She was by my side during the tough years I spent trying to build my career. I'm the kind of person who shares everything, and I always loved talking to her about anything and everything. As far as I knew, we had no secrets and were very honest with each other. I consistently made an effort to keep our relationship fresh and fun. I organized date nights 1 to 2 times a week, surprised her with gifts, planned trips, and tried to do new things together such as cooking classes and dance classes. I loved sharing experiences with her and indulged in her hobbies. I always made sure she knew she was my number one. I thought I felt the same from her. Even as my career took off, I made sure not to prioritize her any less than my friends. I believe a good work-life balance is necessary for happiness. Last week, we were all at the house of our friends, Tom and Katie, both 27. It's a house they recently bought. We were sitting in their yard drinking along with 2 other friends, Bill, 26, and Jane, 27. We've all been a tight-knit group for 7 years. As we were drinking, Mark got drunk fairly quickly. All night he was making snide comments about me. After 6 months of this, I'd had enough. The others also told him to tone it down, as he was just being hurtful and rude despite trying to disguise these comments as jokes. But around midnight, a bit drunk, I couldn't take it anymore and confronted him. This led to an argument where I pointed out that his jealousy of my recent success was not my fault. I also reminded him of all the efforts I'd made to help him get opportunities in our field. In response, he attacked me. We shoved each other a bit, but he managed to knock me down and kick me in the ribs a few times. He then tried to stomp on my head. Fortunately, he didn't hit me full force. However, it was hard enough to leave my face swollen. Afterwards, he attempted to stomp on my head again, but I moved. I saw his heel land with full force inches from my face. He could have broken my skull or even killed me had he landed on my head. The other guys, Tom and Bill, stepped in at this point. I managed to stand up and yelled at Mark, asking if he had lost his mind. He seemed to be walking away, but suddenly picked up a wooden plank. Tom and Katie had been redoing their fence and building a shed in the garden, so there were materials lying around. Mark lunged at me again, swinging the plank towards my head. I ducked and put up my hand to shield myself, causing him to hit my elbow quite hard. This second attack could have been fatal, just like the first one. He also nearly hit Jane with the plank, causing chaos to break loose. Tom and Bill, seeing red from what just happened, jumped Mark and beat him up pretty badly. The girls managed to separate them from Mark, and we all were in shock. Mark sat up, his face bloody but conscious, and Emily went to sit with him. Katie drove Mark to the hospital and returned in the morning. Mark had suffered a broken nose and a slight concussion. Katie dropped him off at his parents' place. She said Mark didn't talk much to her during the drive, and he didn't offer an explanation or apology for his actions. That night was a blur for all of us, filled with a mix of alcohol, shock, and adrenaline. It was the worst night of my life, and things only got worse from there. You might have noticed that I haven't mentioned Emily for a while. As we sat around later, Tom said something about Mark deserving worse than a broken nose for trying to kill me twice and almost hurting Jane. Emily, who had been quiet, suddenly snapped. She defended Mark, saying he didn't deserve any of this and that he was just having a hard time. This led to a near screaming match between Tom and Emily before Emily stormed off. I followed her, thinking that we were all in shock and sleep-deprived. I planned to comfort her. I found her in the guest room crying. I told her I understood that we were all in shock and suggested that we try to get some sleep. She didn't look at me, and then it hit me. Mark and Emily had been sitting next to each other the previous evening. That wasn't the first time I had seen them together. When Mark was screaming at me, Emily was by his side, trying to calm him down. After Mark kicked me, stomped on me, and swung a plank at me, she was still focused on calming him down. While I lay in pain, she didn't check on me. While the guys were beating Mark, she was screaming hysterically, trying to pull them off him. To my recollection, she didn't once ask me if I was okay that night. Overwhelmed, I asked her, "Are you cheating on me with Mark?" She started crying hysterically and kept repeating that she never intended for things to go this far. That was answer enough for me, and I lost it. I started yelling at her, asking how she could do this. The others rushed into the room, and the guys led me to another room to calm me down. Jane and Katie drove Emily to her parents' house. Jane stayed with Emily as her parents were understandably worried. Jane and Katie told them about the fight between Mark and me and that it seemed to stem from an affair between Mark and Emily. The following 5 days were filled with intense physical and emotional pain. I was consumed by anger and confusion. I had a fractured elbow, a couple of bruised ribs, and the right side of my face was swollen. The events of that night kept playing on a loop in my head. I sent Emily several texts asking for an explanation, but she didn't respond. Then 5 days later, I received a call from my former mother-in-law. My former in-laws are wonderful people who have always been kind to me and helped me through a lot over the years. She was very apologetic for her daughter's actions and understanding of the situation. She told me that Emily wanted to see me and talk, and asked if I could come over, which I agreed to do. When I arrived, her parents said they would wait outside in their car to give us some privacy. However, due to Emily's emotional state, they didn't want to leave the property completely. When I walked in and saw Emily, my emotions went haywire. I felt a rush of anger and bitterness, followed by a wave of pity for her. She looked terrible, as though she hadn't eaten, showered, or slept since that night. Seeing her like this made me want to comfort her, but I resisted the urge to rush over and take her in my arms. Instead, I sat down across from her. She promised to answer any questions I had honestly and kept repeating how sorry she was for ruining everyone's lives. In short, about a year ago, Mark confessed his love for Emily. She said she made it clear to him that the feeling was not mutual. I asked her why she hadn't told me, and she replied that she didn't want to ruin our friendship and thought she could handle the situation. Over the last few months, Mark had become more aggressive, repeatedly asking her to leave me for him. I asked her if anything had happened between them. She admitted that they had kissed twice, both times initiated by Mark, but she had stopped it. They also cuddled while watching a movie once, and Mark tried to initiate sex. She left at that point and established clear boundaries with him. I asked why she continued to see him alone when he kept trying to kiss her and seduce her. She replied that he had always promised he wouldn't do it again. I asked why she hadn't cut off contact with him, why she continued to respond to his messages, meet him, give him false hope, and lead him on. I asked if she enjoyed his attention. Then she said something strange. She said she felt bad for him, sorry for him, and protective of him, almost like a big sister. She said she felt the need to help him get over her, even to the extent of setting him up on a date with a friend, which he ruined by behaving rudely to the girl. I asked if she was naive, saying that if she was telling the truth, she had done nothing but keep his hope and crush for her alive by continuing to give him her time. She broke down crying and insisted that she did have a brother-sister relationship with him, that she wanted to help him, and that he was having a hard time. She said she wanted to assist him in getting back on his feet. However, he grew increasingly persistent and started speaking ill of me, claiming that I didn't deserve her. She said she regretted everything and that she had been stupid, ruining everything by dealing with it in the worst way possible, even though she thought she was doing the right thing. As I walked out, her parents stepped out of their car to ask if everything was all right. I'm not proud of it, but I lost it at that point. I yelled that their C-word of a daughter had ruined my life and asked how she could choose the man who tried to stomp on my face over me. My anger was so intense that I couldn't even drive. I began to walk away. But after a while, my former father-in-law pulled up next to me. He told me to get in the car, which I did, expecting him to yell at me or scold me. Instead, he drove me home in silence. When he dropped me off at my place, he put his hand on my shoulder. I couldn't even look him in the face after what I had said about his daughter. Emily texted me screenshots of their texts, which seemed to confirm what she had said, that she had checked on him to see if he was okay, and then told him she couldn't have him in her life anymore. She said she would never forgive him for attacking me. She also sent more screenshots of their previous chats, mostly showing her telling him to stop, that she didn't have feelings for him, and rejecting his advances. However, I couldn't help but think she was cherry-picking parts of the conversations that cast her in a favorable light while leaving out other texts. I haven't responded yet, and I don't think I ever will. I plan to block her soon, but for some reason I just can't bring myself to do it yet. Now, I'm just trying to get all of this out. I feel so betrayed, angry, and horrible. I want to hurt Emily and Mark so badly. Not physically, but emotionally. I want them to feel the pain I'm feeling, and I know that's not a healthy way to feel or act. So I'm hoping that just writing this out, even if no one reads it, will help me start to process what has happened. I can't comprehend how my life went from feeling perfect to feeling like I'll never be happy again. I feel like this pain will never go away. How on earth can someone heal from this? I feel like I've lost everything. The people I used to love with all my heart now only incite hatred in me. Emily claimed she didn't cheat in the sense of having sex with Mark, which I highly doubt. Even if they didn't have sex, she still betrayed me on so many levels, as did Mark. I don't think I'll ever forgive them, and I can't imagine ever getting to a place where I would even consider trying to. So to anyone who has ever been through a betrayal like this, from partners or friends or both, what is my next step? What can I do to begin the process of moving past this and starting to live my life again? Okay, first of all, Shakespeare himself would be like, "Whoa, slow down, buddy, too much tragedy in one act." So our poor protagonist here is dealing with a double whammy of betrayal. His best friend decides to evolve from supportive sidekick to jealous nemesis, and his girlfriend, well, she's channeling some major Florence Nightingale vibes, except instead of nursing the wounded, she's nursing a one-sided crush. Honestly, girl, what were you thinking? And let's not forget about the climactic showdown with the wooden plank. Now, I'm no expert, but I think there are healthier ways to deal with jealousy than turning a garden variety drinking session into a WWE SmackDown. And Emily, sweet naive Emily, trying to help Mark get over her by continuing to spend time with him is like trying to extinguish a fire by pouring gasoline on it. That's not how it works, honey. It's not how any of this works. It's honestly so messy and painful that I can't even make my usual sarcastic remarks about it. Seriously, dude, I hope you get some professional help. Surround yourself with positive people and take all the time you need to heal from this. And maybe consider changing your locks, just in case. I think we can all learn something from this story. Communication is key, trust your gut feelings, and always, always keep your friends away from your romantic partners if they start professing their undying love for them. But most importantly, don't take relationship advice from a sarcastic idiot on YouTube. Well, unless you like it. Hey, wait! As always, don't forget to kindly tap the like button, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you would have done if you were in this situation. Stay safe out there in that crazy world. Much love, peace.